Welcome to Advanblack's YouTube channel. I'm Steve, service technician for Advanblack. Today we're going to be installing the brand new HOLESHOT kit. Now this is a performance style bagger kit. Now this kit includes several pieces, but today we're going to be concentrating on the rear end kit. All the things that I'm going to be showing you today can be purchased separately or they can be purchased as a kit. And as always from Advanblack, you can get that color match to your bike. Today we're going to be concentrating on the HOLESHOT side covers, the saddlebags, the rear fender, and the optional filler panel lights that go between the saddlebag and the rear fender. I'll take you over here to the table and I'll show you the parts that we're going to be getting installed, but stay tuned for future videos for the rest of the kit. We also have a tank for this and a front fender. So let's get over to the table and see what we got to install today, and then we'll start getting it on the bike. We're going to start with the side cover. As you can see, this is a sculpted side cover. It's got the inlay on the inside right here. We have the all metal one-piece shorty rear fender, and that's going to come with optional LED filler lights. Now like I said, this is optional. If you already have filler lights on your bike, this is not necessary to make this kit work, but we do have these color matched as well. You see down here on the bottom, it's sculpted inward, and that's going to match the back side of the shorty bags. Now here's our Advanblack HOLESHOT saddlebag. It is contoured on the back and on the sides right here, and it does have that inlaid just like the side covers. Like I said, the optional LED lights will match right up to the back side of that saddlebag. So today we're going to be installing all of these parts on the 2022 Road Glide ST back here. So we're going to get this thing up in the air. We're going to get our seat off, get our saddlebags off, get our side covers off. Those are all easy things to remove, so we're going to go ahead and get that stuff out of the way. So now we're going to do the rear fender, and I just want to preface this part with anything that I do to this side of the bike, I'm going to be doing to that side of the bike as well. So if you're only seeing me do it to this side of the bike, I'm cutting the camera to save time in this video to remove something on that side. Unless it's specific to that side, I will move the camera over there. The very first thing we're going to do on both sides of the bike is remove this front clip right here where your saddlebag goes in. You can get in there with a flathead screwdriver. So I go in here with a screwdriver on the back side and I pry out and down and pull that away. We have to take that off on both sides to access that bolt that's in there. So from there, we've got this bolt and nut right here that attaches the fender bracket that goes behind the inside of the fender from this side to the other side. It's going to be a 1/2 inch and a Torx 40 on this bolt. Go ahead and pull that bolt, get it out of the way. Same thing on the other side. Go ahead and remove both nuts, but leave the bolts in place. Right here in the back of your fender, if you reach up in here, you can feel that bracket that goes around. There's going to be a nut right there. If you have an ST, it's super easy to get to, but if you have a regular Street Glide or Road Glide with the filler panels on it, you'll have a tri-bar light at the bottom, and it's above that. So you got to get above that to get to that nut. Go ahead and take that nut and washer off. Now on the back side of this plastic plug, there's a bolt that goes through. That's what we just took the nut off of. So when we take these two side bolts off, right, the only thing holding it on is that bolt in the middle. So make sure you hang on to it. Pull this, and then we can pull this forward towards the tire, and it'll come right off. And that's the fender support bracket in the rear. That's where that bolt went through the center, and that's where the two bolts on the outside go. At this point, we're going to take a T-handle Torx 40 and we're going to go right in here to this bolt. We're going to go ahead and remove it. And do that to both sides. We're going to do it to this back bolt right through this hole here, but we're not going to remove it. We're just going to loosen it. Now if you follow this wire harness right here from underneath the fender through this hole, it's going to be plugged into a black piece here. Now that's on an ST. If you have the Street Glide or Road Glide, it may come down that right side right along the edge of the fender, come right through here and plug into the same spot. But the ST short fender that's on here, it actually goes to the inside of the fender right here. Right here on this fender, you also have that little Christmas tree plug that's on there. So we're going to go ahead and remove that because we need that part to stay on the bike. Now we can tilt this fender forward and expose these bolts, one on each side. That's where that bolt went into this bolt. We've got a nut right here we have to remove. That's going to be a 3/4 inch, so we're going to slip our ratchet in there and we're going to get that loose. Go ahead and take the nut and the washer off. Same thing on the other side. Then this just simply pushes out the back, just like that. And do the same thing on the other side. Now we have the same setup right back in here because we have to kind of shimmy this one out. There's no real way for us to get to that bolt, so we have to kind of squeeze it out of there. So we're going to take our T40T handle one more time, and we're going to go ahead and release these bolts in the rear. Handy to keep a stick magnet like this to get those out of that hole and pull that out. We're going to come over here, we're going to do it to the other side. Now this will drop the rest of the way when you pull this bolt out, but it won't fall out of the bike. So we kind of want to keep a hand on the back side of it. Now right here on the back side of the bike, if you look in here, you can see that nut and that bolt, but there's no real way for us to access and get to it. So what we're going to do is squeeze in on the sides and work one side out and then the other. So we're going to push in on this side, kind of tilt the fender at an angle until we get that out, just like that. And then we're going to come and we're going to do it to this side. Push in at that angle and roll it out. Once it's out from there, you can take the fender straight out the backside. Now over here on the table, there's a few things that we need off of our old fender to put onto our new fender. If you're going to run a 2-up seat, you need your 2-up post. It just has a little plastic clip that kind of holds that on. Running a solo seat, you will need these studs right here. So we're just going to hold this plate on the inside, kind of unscrew these, try not to just rip them off. If you rip these off, then they don't hold good later. So just kind of unscrew them and pull them at the same time. They are very loose. You don't want to make them any looser. So on the inside, this just pushes out like that, and that is your clamp. This piece here just held that wire in place for us, which we don't need anymore. We've got a new harness. We will need those 2 bolts off the back side. So we're going to take our 3/4, we're going to bust that loose. Do that on both sides. Go ahead and pull these out. And of course you will need your license plate. Now once we have that all taken off, we're pretty well done with this fender. We can move our new fender in and start putting this stuff back on. We can go ahead and get our rear bolts in. These have a little square notch that goes in that kind of square hole there, so just make sure that you line that up. Does not call for any blue Loctite in the service manual. We're just going to snug these back up. Going to put our 2-up piece back in. Get our little plastic washer that goes on there. Snap that back into place. Take your solo seat piece, put that back into place. Put our plastic pieces back on. Now we're ready to put this piece back on the bike. We're going to walk the fender over. We're going to slide it back into place just like we took it out. We're going to let it rest on the tire. Same thing with this one. We're going to get it at an angle. So we're going to get this at an angle. We're going to push in this side. Push in the other side. We're going to get our fender pulled up into place. Get these rear bolts started. Get this rear bolt ready. Now while we have these front bolts out, we're going to go ahead and put our wire harness in. We're going to tuck this behind the shock and come up between the fender and the frame right here. And go ahead and plug this in. Now we can go ahead and mount our fender bolts. That goes in from the back side. Make sure that that gets squared up on there. Fender washer, nut. Snug that down. Same thing on the other side. Now with a short fender like this, you won't have that bolt in the middle that goes up in there, but we are going to put the support bracket back in, and the fender will lay on that back side of that bracket. So we're just going to slide this back up into place. Now before we push this fender up and bolt it into place permanently, we're going to run these 2 wires down the side of the bike. The left side, the short wire that goes to this, and then our license plate wire that'll go back there later for our light. The other side, we're going to run it across underneath the seat and go back through that same spot over there. It's like this. We're going to bring it right back here, plug it into this light. We have plenty of room. We're going to pull this slack up here underneath the seat. So the right side wire is extra long, and just in case you want to run all of your wires down this left side and take the long wire around the back of your fender and then tuck it up on there. With this short fender, I've opted to do it underneath the seat, so I'm going to have a little extra slack underneath the seat, and that's fine. We'll just zip tie that off when we're done. So we're just going to pull this up and loosely zip tie this for right now until we get the fender mounted, then we'll come back, tighten these up. So you can just zip tie it just like that. So inside of our kit, we have a license plate frame like this, and just mounts right here to the side of the fender. So once you get to this point where you have all of your wires ran back here and you've got your two front bolts out so you can tilt this up to give you a little bit more room to get in there to work, that's where we're going to start installing the license plate bracket. And if you have the optional lights, we will add that after we add the plate. You'll notice on the back side of this that these are bare wires, but inside the kit you will get some solder connectors on the wire harness. It's going to be raw on this side too. So basically these wires go to the light to illuminate your license plate. Now I've already installed my plate, and you can take a look at it right now to see how I've got it installed. But the back side of this plate is threaded, so you're just going to put the lights through. So the lights have a stud on the back. You're going to run the wire through the hole, screw them down, and you can point them straight down. You can angle them in however you want to do it. We're going to bring the wires over to the left. You can see the two holes right here where this goes on. So we're going to set that in place like that, and then we're going to take the hardware that's inside the kit, which is just Phillips head screws like this, washers and nuts. On these screws I will add a little bit of blue Loctite. I'll set this up into place so we can put our screw through, put it through the side of the fender, just hold it in place. And get a washer and a nut. Just leave everything loose until you have everything installed. Now remember, we can always pull this slack up underneath the seat, so I'm just going to leave that on there. This is pre-stripped for you on this back side, but on the lights they're not, so you're going to have to strip some wire back. So we're going to make sure we're through this hole. Take one of our solder connectors, put it all the way over. So we can see this long one, we can actually cut back a little bit. We're going to cut this one back, cut this off, strip this back. Slide our connectors back over. Make sure to center up that solder where the majority of your wires are twisted together. So what's good about these connectors is it does solder the wires together, but it also, these strips on the end right here are like a weatherproofing. They'll shrink down and keep this watertight. So we're just going to turn this sideways, and you get one hot enough like this, and just go over the whole thing. You'll see the solder kind of melt. We hit the solder first. Make sure to twist it around. We want to make sure everything is connected. Now that that's connected, we got everything plugged in, we can go ahead and kick the bike on and make sure that that lights up. Now to cover this up, I'll use some Testa tape like this. You can use electric tape. The Testa tape is an automotive cloth tape. That's why I like using it, and it doesn't melt and get all gunky like electric tape does. So I'm just going to take some of this and put a thin coat all the way around it. Remember, this kind of is right behind the tail light, so you want to make sure that you keep this as thin as you possibly can. So now this will be right here behind this tail light, and then we can pull the excess slack up underneath our seat. On the tail light itself, you'll see this cutout area here. That's for this plate frame, the studded plate right here with 2 studs on it. So we're going to go ahead, get the wire about where we want it, and get a hole here and a hole here. We're going to go ahead and get that lined up and get that on there. We'll bring these wires down as close as we can to the edge of this. You get a washer and a nylock nut that goes on there, so no blue Loctites needed on these. And that's why we do this with the fender actually kicked up, so we got a little bit more room to get our hands in here. If you have the fender completely installed, it's a very tight squeeze between the tire and the back side of this to get these started. The top one we can get to from over here with a 10mm ratcheting wrench. We're just going to repeat that process on the other side. Now from here we're going to put our 2 fender bolts back in here. So we're just going to look up in there and make sure our holes are lined up correctly. Go ahead and get these bolts started. Make sure our wires are coming through the edge of this fender and they're in the play part and not smashed in here or smashed in here. Make sure you can still move those wires before you tighten this down. Inside the hardware kit for your license plate frame too, I forgot to mention, is the 2 black screws, 2 rubber washers, and 2 nylon nuts. So put the rubber washer on the outside of the plate side to keep the vibrations down from metal on metal. So just put the washer on, run the screws through, put the nuts on the back side. So from here we're going to bring this extra wire up underneath the seat. We're going to bring it up here and make it match the rest of the harness right here, and we'll go ahead and zip tie it to that harness that's in those plastic clips. Now switching your hardware over, super easy to do. We just have 4 screws right here, 2 on the outside of this tether, 2 underneath it. That's going to release the whole hinge, lid, and everything off of this saddlebag to put on a new one. It's going to be a Torx 15. Now this one, the last one, make sure that you grab the underneath side of this lid and prop up the lid so you don't scratch your paint. Now just pull the bag away from the lid, set the lid off to the side. We've got to take these hooks off for the one-touch hardware, 4 screws in the front, 4 screws in the rear. So we're going to add just a touch of blue Loctite to each one of these screws. Just takes a little dab. So we're just going to get one of our screws ready. We're going to put it in the middle. Get our Torx bit. And I can lean this lid at an angle. Bring this up. This bag is ready to go. We just have to do the exact same thing on the other side. So now we're going to bring our HOLESHOT side covers in. These just pop in just like you took your old ones off. Now we want to go ahead and put our clips back in. Make sure that the nut side is on the inside in here. So it's going to go just like this. We're just going to slide it up on here and then pop it into place. Just like that. Make sure to do that on both sides. Going to bring our HOLESHOT saddlebag into place. We get our Advanblack Quest seat. This is already available on the website as solo and 2-up. So that's everything there is to installing the Advanblack HOLESHOT kit. Like I said, this is a performance bagger style kit. You can purchase this as a kit, or you can purchase each one of these pieces individually. If you want to get your hands on this set, I'll put a link down in the description down below. 3 days after the release of this video, for the first 3 days, you'll have to go through an authorized dealer if you want to get this kit, or just wait 3 days and you can jump over to the website. Make sure we do your color and pick out the kit. I hope this video helped you, but if you have any questions, you can always reach me on the parts and installation telephone number that's at the bottom of the website. I'm going to get out of here, get myself cleaned up. I hope to see you in the next video, but until then, as always, be safe, keep your knees in the breeze.